Hi, I'm Pete, and this is the companion video for the Andromeda Cube solve video. So this will provide you some additional information, some expanded information, some nice to know information about the Andromeda Cube. You can take a look down in the description to see what topics are covered in this video, and you can skip right to them using the links, or you just watch the whole thing. So do feel free to skip around though to topics that interest you. All right, well, let's talk about the background of the Andromeda Cube. First of all, I'll say this was designed by David Pitcher, and it's been mass-produced by Lan. It's really quite an impressive puzzle. This has 24 axes, so 4 per face. And it's jumbling only, which is to say that if you make any turn on the puzzle, the pieces will be kind of out of their regular positions, and they won't be flat. They won't. They'll be sticking up. The puzzle itself is actually a cubic transformation of this shape here. This is a pentagonal icosahedron. And you can actually see it has these irregular pentagon faces. It has 24 of them, and you see how they sort of cluster in these groups of 4. We can actually see that reflected in the fact that we have 4 of these faces on each face of the cube. One of the things that David Pitcher did in designing this, he didn't just give us a kind of a chopped up cubic transformation. It gave us a bit of an extra challenge in that these inner pieces, these petals, are actually bandaged pieces. So while some other pieces are edges and corners, these ones are actually an edge and a corner fused together, just to add a little bit more to the challenge. So that's the background. So the next thing I'll talk about is the notation we're going to use to be able to talk about algorithms on this puzzle, because there's a few algorithms, not a lot, but certainly having algorithms, at least for me, really helps me to understand how to solve the puzzle, and it sort of gives me a set of tools to use to solve the puzzle. So the notation was proposed by Conrad with a K, on the Twisty Puzzle forum, and he provided a graphic that showed the names of each axis. I made a new one myself, just so I wasn't just grabbing the Conrad's graphics. So that new one kind of shows, for at least the faces that we will deal with, what we're calling them. So the system is that we use the standard WCA face notation. So this is F, this is R, this is L, this is U. We also have D, which I try not to use, and B for the faces. So each axis then is, we designate that the face that it's on. Then we decide whether it's closer to up or down. So U or D, and so that will be the second designation. So these axes up here are F, U, and the ones down here are F, D, and likewise on the sides. The exception, of course, is when we get to the U face. So this is U, and instead of U and D, we're going to use F and B. So these axes will be UF, and these ones will be UB. And then the final piece of information we need is which side of the face it's on. So for the faces around the middle of the puzzle, it's going to be whatever face is closest to. So if this is F, then the faces on this side will be R, and on this side it'll be L. Now, if we turn the puzzle, and we're looking at this as the left side, then it's going to be F or B, front or back. For the top, the U, it's still going to be R and L. So that gives us a designation then for each possible axis. So this one is going to be F for the front, U because it's closer to the up, and R, so it's FUR. Okay, this one here is going to be U because it's on the U face, F, R, UFR, UFL. Right? And that's how we designate it. I tried not to, for my algorithms, do any D, and I try to use B as little as possible, but because of the way the pieces move, you're often turning axes across multiple phases, so sometimes it can't be helped to include D or a bunch of other faces. So so that's the notation, and then for the algorithms themselves. Now this is where I deviate a little bit from what Conrad posted on Twisty Puzzle Forum. Basically, one step of a face, I just write the face name. So if we wanted to turn this face one step clockwise, then it's going to be UFR. And if I write UFR in my notes in an algorithm, then that's UFR. If I want to do a counterclockwise move, we put a apostrophe at the end of it, and then I call it prime. Some people call it inverse. So a counterclockwise move of this face would be UFR prime, right? Another one would be UFR prime. And then if I want to move it to 1 or 2, then I just 1 or 2 steps. Then we can just put a number beside the face designation. So UFR3 would be 3 steps clockwise. So 1, 2, 3. There you go. Okay, and that's a notation. Now, when I did the solve video, sometimes we're moving pieces from one face to another through a couple of intermediate faces, and that's where the notation gets a little messy. And I've struggled with it a bit, doing 0.5, like 2.5 moves in the notation, and I'm sort of what I really want to say is it should be obvious when you're doing an algorithm if you're moving something and then the next move is an adjacent face, that basically whatever you're moving should line up with that face. So if I say LUF, which is that one, 3, and then you're turning LUF 3 prime, sorry, and you're going backwards here, maybe this is the piece that's intended to move to the adjacent face. So I don't really have any good way of telling you, jostle it a little bit until it's because it's a little more than 3. It's not quite right. It's 2.5, it's 3.5 or something. But it should be obvious from the algorithm what you're trying to move, and that's just how I'm going to leave the notation, so we don't have to put every single detail, because the notation is just there to help us solve the puzzle. It's not there to just, we're not coding it into a computer. All right, let's talk about piece names, what I'm going to refer to pieces, what the different names are. So for the axes, I'll refer to the center of the axis as the center. This is the pentagonal piece right here, and we're just going to call it the center. There's 3 kinds of edges on the cubic edge. So when I'm referring to a Andromeda edge, I may refer to the middle edge or the symmetrical edge because the color is the symmetrical, or the asymmetrical edges, the long edges, which have different amounts of color on them. And so I just call those the asymmetrical edges or the long edges. Something I picked up from the Twisty Puzzle Forum is to call these spear-shaped pieces, call them petals. Pedals, yeah. So I don't know. I might sometimes slip and call them other things, but yeah, they are the pedals, and we'll be dealing with them quite a bit. And then finally, one really important concept on this puzzle is that this edge along here actually contains a lot of corners, logical corners. So we have the 3 color corners, which are at each corner of the cube, but these flat 2 color pieces, these are corners, right? They're logical corners. You have a corner, you have an edge, you have another corner, an edge, another corner, an edge, another corner. And they can, because of the jumbling in the puzzle, you can actually swap these corners around quite easily. I'm just going to do a very simple corner swap here. And we can see that this 3 color corner is now occupying a place where the 2 color corner was, and it's perfectly fine. We can do everything to it that we would do with a 2 color corner. And likewise, this 3 color corner, the 2 color corner up here is just happy as a clam to be in 3 color corners spot. So that's what I'm going to use, 2 color corners and 3 color corners. It is very tempting to call them flat edges or something like that, but I think of them as corners, and I have to think of them as corners to be able to solve them, because I solve them like corners. They have to be oriented and stuff like that. So now I'll talk about algorithms, and this is where I think I got a pretty big head start on solving this puzzle. There was some talk in the Twisty Puzzle forum about how to solve it, and by the time I got there, I had an idea of what the sequence might be, and I changed my mind a little bit based on what they were doing there, so that helped a lot. And then I found on YouTube a channel called Zergosaur. Anyway, I'll post put a link, and actually I give Zergosaur credit in my notes. So there is a document. There'll be a link down in the description. There's also the same document linked in the solve video. And I do give credit for all the algorithms that I just got from Zergosaur's channel. So what Zergosaur did was gave a kind of an outline, a thumbnail outline of how to solve the puzzle. Then had links to individual algorithms that might be helpful in different parts of a solve. So, and the algorithms were animations in the P-Cubes puzzle simulator. So if you do an algorithm on P-Cubes, you actually have the ability to replay it, basically. And so that's where I started. And and it was very helpful to me, because I was able to get an algorithm, say for example, to 3 cycle the corners clockwise, and then take that algorithm and code it into the notation I was planning to use, and then try it out on my own, try it in P-Cubes, try it on my puzzle, and I was able to work out those algorithms, right? So here's, for example, one of the algorithms, and I'm just going to go through this. So this algorithm 3 cycles the corners clockwise. So I guess we'll be going that way. So we expect that to go there, that to go there, and that to come around here. And yeah, so I'm just going to show this. So this is Zergosaur's algorithm. So it's UFL prime. And what you'll find with these algorithms is it's a down, down, up, up is what it is, right? And very similar to what we would use on a Rubik's Cube. So UFL prime, FUL, like that. UFL, and then FUL prime. So that's the down, down, up, up. And then whenever we're moving something, we're going to move an isolated piece. In this case, it's this one. So we're going to do UFR, which is this. And then we're going to undo what we did before, starting on the other face. So before we did UFL prime, so we're going to start UFL prime FUL. So now we're going to do FUL UFL prime. So FUL UFR prime, FUL prime UFR, and then we undo the setup move. Okay, so there you go. Clean, simple, short algorithm, and it's perfect for what we need to 3-cycle these corners, and we will do this a lot. Now you can use these algorithms with setup moves. So for example, if I didn't want to move that, I could have done a setup where I have this in here, and then it would have operated on that, right? Likewise, if I didn't want to move that corner, I could have done a setup where we're working on that corner. There are a lot of options, and the only thing you need to be careful of is, depending on, you need to keep these bandage pieces out of the mix. So for example, you wouldn't really be able to do any kind of setup move that exposes those bandage pieces, right? And I have in my notes, often there are comments in some of them where it says these are the faces I've tried which are safe. So that's a great start on algorithms. So once I got the clockwise corner 3-cycle, the next thing I wanted to do was do a counterclockwise. So once you have one, it's really easy to make a counterclockwise version of it. And so this is what I came up with on my, based on Zegasor's original algorithm. So the counterclockwise, so we're just going to undo what I just did. And so whenever you're doing the opposite, you're going to start with the isolated piece and move that first. So this is going to be UFR. Okay, and then we're going to do the down, down, up, up. So it's UFL prime, FUR, UFL, FUR prime. And then we're going to do, then we will undo UFR prime. And now we have to undo the down, down, up, up, and again starting from the other direction. So that's going to be FUL, UFR prime, UFL, FUR, FUL. Okay, and there you go. So that just undid the 3-cycle. So now the next thing that we would need, that I felt that we needed on this, even though this is quite flexible, it still makes it's still really hard to cycle pieces on the right if you have an algorithm that's basically cycles pieces on the left. So I basically just mirrored Zegasor's original algorithm so that we have a clockwise 3-cycle of these pieces on the right. So this is what I came up with. So it's UFR, FUR prime, UFR prime, FUR. So that's the down, down, up, up. And now on this side, just because this cube is not quite symmetrical, we're gonna our isolated piece is going to be moved with an FUL. There we go. So we moved it with an FUL. And now we're going to reverse our down, down, up, up. So it's FUR prime. FUR prime. Okay. UFR. Okay. Oops. Yeah, FUR. UFR prime. Okay, and then we undo that setup move. So that's FUL prime. And you see that it does exactly what the other one does, it's just on the right. So we did a clockwise 3-cycle of the pieces. The one here goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there. And like on the other side, we have to have a counterclockwise version of that. So I made a counterclockwise version of it. And as with the left, we always start with our isolate when we have the isolated piece move. So there's FUL. And now I'm just going to do my down, down, up, up, right? So it's it's UFR, FUR prime, UFR prime, FUR, and then undo that. So that's going to be FUL prime. So now we undo the down, down, up, up, and we're going to start with FUR prime, UFR, FUR, UFR prime. And so it just put it back. So having all of those algorithms really gives me a nice palette to work with, and you'll see in the solve video that I used them all, and along with setup moves and everything. So that was helpful. Now, the other one that we need to be able to solve a puzzle like this is a corner rotation. And sort of we have the same idea here, where we're going to use down, down, up, up, which is used quite a bit on standard cube to do a corner rotation. And I really like this, so Zegasaur posted this one. Again, I took the one that Zegasaur posted, which is a counterclockwise turn of this piece and a clockwise turn of that piece. And then I made a version that does the opposite. Now this corner rotation, which rotates the center two color corners, is very versatile. You can you can substitute these corner pieces in. You can substitute pieces that way in. It really is very, very easy to use. And you'll see, I mean, there's probably almost an hour of me doing this in the solve video. So I'll just show this on the solve puzzle so you can see exactly how it works. So we're going to do the standard down, down, up, up. But there's a little bit of a catch. So it's UFL prime, FUL, UFL, and then FUL prime. So that's the down, down, up, up. It's repeated. So we have to repeat it again. And that's it in the notation, it's ×2. So when you get the notes, if you find that hard to remember, you could just cut and paste it and remove the ×2 and just put the algorithm twice. So we're just going to do the same thing again. So it's UFL prime, FUR, UFL, FUR prime. Okay, so we've done it twice now. Now we're going to do the isolation move, which in this case is UFR. Okay, and then we're going to undo everything. Okay, so we'll undo again. We have to undo twice. So it's FUR, UFL prime, FUR prime, UFL. But we have to do it twice. FUR, FUL. Sorry, UFL prime, FUL prime, UFL, and then we undo the setup move. And so this one has rotated counterclockwise. So this screen used to be here and it's gone that way. And this one is rotated clockwise. Okay. So that was Zegasaur, what Zegasaur showed us how to do. And once you have that, coming up with the mirror is pretty straightforward. So the mirror just does counterclockwise on the left and clockwise on the right. And it's pretty well the same pattern as the corner rotation, as the corner 3 cycles, where we start with the setup for the isolation move. So it's UFR. So then we have to do the down, down, up, up, and we do it twice. So it's a UFL prime, FUR, UFL, FUR prime, and then we do it again. UFR prime, FUL, UFL, FUL prime. Then we undo that, which is it's a UFR prime. And then we're going to do the undo the down, down, up, up twice, starting with the F. So FUL, UFR prime, FUL prime, UFL. All right, and then again, FUL, UFL prime, FUL prime, UFL. There we go. And so we just undid the corner rotations. So those were the algorithms I got from Zegasaur. The other algorithms I got, which I'm not going to demonstrate here because we really cover them in quite a bit of detail in the scramble portion of the solve video, is moving these strips of petals around. There's that, moving those around, and Zegasaur gave us an algorithm to do that, and then I added a few more. And also moving chunks of the puzzle around without jumbling. Zegasaur gave us some great algorithms for that, which I just used straight. I didn't really add any new elements to that because it's used for scrambling. So we can move, there's chunks on the corner and chunks in the center. It's really great. I haven't ever used them for solving, but it is great for getting a good, solid, non-jumbling scramble of this puzzle before you go into the jumbling part of it. It really helps to have some organization there. So now I'll talk about the solve sequence that I settled on, and I think it's pretty strong. We start by solving the petals, ignoring color. Now this is just a step where we're just trying to get the puzzle unbandaged, because these petals really play havoc with the turning on the puzzle. If you have one of these petals kind of it's been jumbled out of position. Here's an example here. This will bandage. For example, right now it's bandaging this face, and I think it really makes it hard to move things around. So the first step then is we just unbandage the puzzle. So we're going to solve the pedal. We just get the petals into the nearest pedal slot, whatever it is, however you want to do it. And I do show that in the solve, just to get the puzzle moving. And once you have that, actually then the puzzle is completely unbandaged. With a little asterisk, because it's still sometimes difficult to turn these axes when you're going past pedals. Sometimes it gets a little tricky. But anyway, solving the pedals, ignoring color. Then the next step is to solve the pedals with just to their proper faces, right? So put all the white pedals in, all the green, etc. Now this one, I was in the solve, I was making use of the algorithms that Zegasaur gave us, and then some additional ones that I came up with to move pedals around cleanly. For future solves, I may use more just jumbling, swapping two pedals, which you saw a little bit, which you'll see if you watch the video, the solve video. Just jumbling pedals into place rather than using the algorithm. What I might do is just maybe do some jumbling to get myself a nice 3-cycle, and then do that, and etc. So I'm not quite. I've had really good luck using the solving pedal, the algorithms to solve the pedals, and then I've had some really challenging solves, like the one I did for the video, where there weren't really good options. I didn't really ever get a nice 3-cycle of these pedals, and it was usually I was just solving one, and sometimes I was solving one and then knocking one out. So those were the first two. So it's solving pedals, ignoring color, solving pedals by color, then solving edges, then placing the corners, and at that same time I like to also orient the corners. You can do it in a separate step, and I've done that before. But what that can lead to is a situation where you have one corner that's not oriented, like in the middle here, and then the other one is down here, which is not terrible because you can move it, and it's not horrible. But what I decided to do was just I'll do a section, I'll place the corners, and then I'll come in and flatten them, or as I say, flatten them or orient them, and that seems to have worked well for me. So that was the whole solution. All right, well, now I'll talk a little bit about adjustments and how I adjusted this puzzle, because mine's turning fairly smoothly, and you will see from time to time, even if I'm turning one face, another one might turn a little bit, and that's really something I'm trying to avoid, to try to keep the puzzle fairly tight. So the basic adjustment is, if I want to adjust this center here, I'll turn the axis that's across from this center, and then you can pull the cap off. Okay, so the cap comes off, and there's the screw, and the screw's kind of going in at an angle. And yeah, so you can just use a little screwdriver, and you can adjust it to be tighter or looser. I strongly recommend against making them loose. And you know, it may seem like it's better, but once you start solving, I think it makes it much more prone to popping. And the other thing is, if the screw is too high, if it's too loose, the screw will be too high. And when you go to put this cap back on, there'll be a gap at the back of it. You can actually see the gap if the screw's too high. So in a way, the puzzle kind of enforces that you not make it too loose. Now, another thing I'll just mention while I'm at it, this puzzle does sometimes pop. I've been very careful in my last few solves, and I've avoided any pops, but I think it does happen. So if you have an edge pop out and that you're just holding the edge in your hand, for me, the way I would solve that is I would take the caps off of the two edges that are closest. To the two centers that are closest to the edge. Say you have this or this one, you take the caps off of those, loosen them quite a bit, and then you'll have enough room to pry the pieces apart a little bit to put that. Right, you can do that, right, and then you'll have enough leeway to pry that up and shove the piece back in. Okay, that's the way I do it. Now, another thing about adjustments, or another thing about adjustments, is that what kind of helped me a lot is I took the puzzle all apart. I don't know if that's necessary, but if you want to lube this puzzle, it's really quite helpful to at least take out a few of the centers, and I'll show you how I do it. So you take the center out, the screw out. Okay, screw, and there is no there's no washer on it. It's just a screw and a spring. So now that that's out, I can then I just using a little screwdriver here, and you can actually pull the center up. Okay, there you go. And pull the center up. Okay, so then the center comes out, and what you're looking for is one of these pedals. And there's the pedal, and I'll hold it up. We'll see if my camera will give you a good view of it. Basically, the pedal has a little foot on it, and if you can get some lube just on top of that foot, maybe a little bit on the bottom, but on the top of that foot, because that's the part that goes underneath the center, and that's the part that slides, right? So if you can get a little lube on there, I just have my Traxxas stiff lube here. I just put a little drop on there, and once you do one on a face, you can then work it into that face, you can work it into some adjacent faces. So you may not have to do every single face, but just doing one or two would maybe here and here, or maybe a couple of them. That would kind of go a long way towards lubing the puzzle and making it turn. It's still going to be stiff, which is what you want, but it will be smooth, and that's also what you want. All right, so once we have everything, we've done what we need to do. We've lubed the pedals. We've maybe replaced an edge that needed to be put back. We can go ahead and put our center back in, and usually this isn't too fiddly, but you can try shoving it in. But everything's pretty tight in there, so there we go. You might have to just kind of gently pry up the pedals to get it to, just to give it a little space. If you can't, just jam it right in there. But this worked out well for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the screw back in. Okay, and I'm just looking for it to be quite tight. I'm also looking for the screw to be below the. Yeah, there we go. And you know, it's if you count your turns or whatever, that might be useful. I just will put the cap back on, and then I'm going to take a look. So there's a little bit of a gap still. It's not bad, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it another turn. I really don't think it hurts it to be really tight. Okay, there we go, and then this one, yeah, it's turning just fine. Okay, so that's the adjustment, and yeah, it's better that it be tight. It really is better. And then one last little mention about the adjustment, which is actually kind of important, is these little triangular pieces, little tiny triangular stickers. They were loose on mine, and I think a lot of people have had that issue. So I just preemptively went around and just put a little drop of super glue under each one, and they haven't had a problem with them. One other sort of tuning issue that I had was the two color caps kept popping off, mostly if I was jumbling the puzzle and as pieces were sliding, like if this was sliding across, let's say I had a situation like this, right, where where the pieces are jumbled, the two color caps would pop, and it's very disconcerting. It's just really distracting when a piece goes flying off your puzzle while you're trying to solve it. So I actually took the puzzle apart thinking that I had a problem with all of them. It turned out to be there were three of them that were super loose. I just crazy glued them together because it's a cap. It's just like a regular cap. So there's posts and sockets. So I just put the super glue in the sockets and squeezed them together. But I only found three of them that were actually loose. The rest of them were quite tight. But I glued them all because I had taken the puzzle apart, and I haven't had a single problem since then. So that's another thing. If you're not having problems with them popping, probably not something to make you take your puzzle apart. But otherwise, might be something to consider. So I'm going to talk a little bit about pops. I've already really pretty much talked about it. It generally happens when you're jumbling and you're moving pieces like this, right? Where you're trying to move. So I want to turn this, and this is kind of blocking a little bit. So I found I've gotten a lot of good mileage out of holding the pieces down and just turning gently as I do that. That helps. If possible, if you have jumbled pieces, sometimes it's possible to quickly swap maybe a 3-color corner to a flatter 2-color corner and then move things back. That might help. but sometimes you just kind of have to slowly just kind of push them against each other. So if you do have a pop, an edge pops out, I was, the best thing is to loosen the two axes that are closest to where the edge needs to be, take the caps off, loosen them as much as you can without maybe taking it apart, and then just, you can use a little prying tool to pry up the center, to pry the pieces away, and then you can pop the edge back in. Now there is a consideration here that if you didn't see how the edge was oriented, you may have a problem at the end where you have an edge, just one edge that's flipped. And if you have that, it's not really a big deal because you know what the problem was. You put the edge back in, you didn't know which orientation it was in, and right. Now, it helps if you take note of which type of edge you had, if it's a symmetrical or an asymmetrical. If you end up at the end with one edge of that type flipped and you had a pop, well, that's what it was. What the other issue, though, is that this cube does have a parity case, and I will talk about that because the popping can interfere, can cause some problems for the parity case. Right, so the parity case that we get on this is when we're solving the edges, we get to the last three edges, or the last two edges, and you have two edges that can't be solved. That's the parity case. And up until the last solve I did, which was the one on video, I said that if you swap two adjacent pedals, it'll solve that parity case. And for all of the solves I've done, up until the last one, that was always the case. I swap these two, and I'm actually pretty good at swapping them. And I show how to do it in my video. I actually show how to do it in my video twice, swapping these two pedals, and it's just two adjacent pedals on the same face. And then it solves your problem. It basically stirs up the edges, and you get you can do it with 3 cycles and get them solved. So on the last solve I did, I tried that and it didn't work. I still had two flipped and swapped edges. So what I did was I turned the puzzle 90 degrees and I swapped two more, and then finally I got it to, I found the edges, I was able to solve the edges. So I really don't know what that's about, and that's something I want to work on a bit more after this. But it's going to take a little bit of study. I have some ideas, but I do want to just kind of have time to kind of understand what's going on with that. One of my theories, well, I'll share it. I'm thinking that there might be some situations on this particular puzzle where you can get two edges that are swapped and flipped in such a way that they're still solvable, right? Using jumbling, basically. And that that's not what the parity looks like. The parity has a very distinctive look. That's my thinking anyway. Or maybe it looks like the parity, but it's not quite. But anyway, I'm going to investigate that. The other consideration for the parity is that if you had an edge popped out and you put it back and you're not sure if you got it right or not, you could end up with something that, well, you really can't tell if you've had the parity. You may not be able to tell if you've flipped one of the edges. So what it means is you'll end up with a flipped edge. You know you had a pop, so you put it back in right. And that's fine. It's the way this puzzle works. So you still solved the puzzle, right? You didn't cheat. It pops out, you put it back in, you solve it, and you have a different one, but the same type flipped at the end. Yeah, you just flip it back. All right, well, that's it. I do have an unboxing video for this where I way back a long time ago when I got this puzzle, I unboxed it along with another puzzle. If you want, you can look at that. I'll have a link to that video down in the description, along with a link to the solve video, the Andromeda solve video. And also I will have a link to my solution, my notes, which includes my narrative of how I solved the puzzle, step by step, and also diagrams, illustrated diagrams, which show all of my algorithms with arrows to show which direction things go in, the algorithms themselves, and also I do give credit to those algorithms that I got from Zergosaur. All right, well, that's it for the Andromeda Cube companion video. I hope I covered some useful information for you. Do let me know down in the comments what you think. If you have some insight on that Parity, certainly do let me know down in the comments. I am sort of curious to know what's going on there. And yeah, what do you think of the Andromeda Cube? It's you know, I really like it, but I can imagine some people, you know, especially the bandaging. I'll give you an idea, like the Bagua Cube. You know, I found that frustrating at times just because it was heavily bandaged. But something like the Heaven's Eyes series, where they have the internal bandaging, and I did find that very frustrating until I modified my stickers, and then I could see the bandaging, and then it wasn't fine. It wasn't frustrating anymore. I really enjoyed that series. This is another puzzle where the bandaging is visible, so maybe that's a trend for me. But yeah, let me know what you think of this type of puzzle. One of the things that I know that David Pitcher designed a version of this that unbandages the pedals, so there's an extra cut right here. It hasn't been mass produced to my knowledge, but is that something that you'd be interested in? Would you be interested in a non-bandaged or an unbandaged version of the Andromeda Cube? I'd be curious to hear what you think down in the comments as well. All right, well, that's it for this video. As always, anything else you want to ask me or any other comments you want to make, I welcome that. I do appreciate hearing from my viewers. And until next time, thanks for watching.